Oh, good morning. Welcome to another wonderful edition of Restore Honor and Integrity to Bensalem. Today, of course, is March the 2nd, and I had a few things I wanted to share with all of you, especially in light of some of the things that are going on, not just in our nation, but recently in the township. I needed to do this. I think it's time that we really need to wake up on things. And this is why. I know you've heard me say this before, but I wanted to share something with you that you might find interesting. During the days of the Roman Empire, when they had just become so engulfed in sin and evil, persecuting Christians, and they were corrupt badly. They were pretty much the way it is right now with Obama doing food stamps and whatever else. It feels like the age of food stamps and American Idol. Back then, they had something known as breads and circuses. In other words, apparently they were giving free food and free entertainment to the masses. What type of entertainment, you're wondering? How about probably weekly, daily, if not, shows of Christians being murdered. It was a constant event, and they were so desensitized to it. They enjoyed it. That was the scary part. And I think we're becoming desensitized to the garbage going on in this town as well as in our nation. Now, I may be harping on a few things, but I think it's important because I think we need to hear it. Because just this past week, His Majesty in court decided to cancel the February 25th council meeting. You know, it sounds like a broken record, doesn't it? Whenever something major happens in this town, something serious, that's what they do. I think these should be the following items that we need to discuss so they can't say lack of agenda and cancel another council meeting. See, one of the key things we really need to do is really thoroughly examine this budget. I have brought up valid issues. I brought these up back in 2011, and I continue to bring them up, especially on this blog, that there's things wrong with this budget because every time we turn around, there's a budget deficit. And what do? To balance it, they go to the township's reserve fund. That township reserve fund has got to be just, my guess, just a little bit above $40 million right now. We really need to go over that. We need to establish a strong 2013-2014 budget where we're not going to the reserve fund to cover a deficit. We want to make sure that by the time it's done, there is no deficit, that we've balanced it properly. And that means going through every department, every area. That includes your department, Heyman. Now, I'm not talking hatchet. It's called scalpel, surgical, because there are things in your department that need to be taken care of. One of the things, too, that needs to be taken care of is the mayor's pet community spirit project. And I know one of the things that's in there, two of the things that are in there I'm almost certain of, are the golf course. That thing continues to show a negative cash flow. Another thing that continues showing a negative cash flow is the amphitheater. I mean, even now, despite, charging $5 a head, it's still not doing any good. While we're at it, aside from making sure that the township road renewal program goes for all the roads here in Bensalem, we need to really investigate certain things with the police department, not just their budget, but the fact that since the 1970s, the mid-1970s, the calls for service have been consistent. It's been at least 25,000 calls a year. So why, if it's just like that, why continue to expand the township's police department? That's one area where it's affecting the budget. Also, while we're at it, when it comes to the paid fire department, we really need to investigate how that was established how that was started, because there's things that are questionable about it. Number one, it was founded against township ordinances. Ordinance number 6 in particular, and please don't go saying there's an ordinance number 7, because there isn't. We need to, as a result of that, establish a funding program for the daytime paid firefighters that doesn't involve draining funding from 6 dedicated volunteer fire companies. And one of the things we also need to do, we need to get a copy of the Safer Grant application that the township submitted and get it from the Director of Public Safety himself. The man continues to refuse to give it to the township fire companies or anyone else for that matter. People had to go over his head legally to get a copy. And I got to see it, and there's fraudulent information in it. Major league fraudulent information. We also need to review the tax increase that was provided to the rescue squad, because after they got it, they went and moved all 3 of their service ambulances above Humeville Road. One of those ambulances still continues as a part-time service despite the increase. Weren't they supposed to all be full-time? I have not seen all 3 of them out in public. I'd like to see all 3 of them out in public same time. I know I haven't. I also know of one of them, I believe it's the very one that you were claiming needed to be gotten out. First it was at Cornwell's, and I'm almost certain I'm seeing it at Nottingham. I've been seeing an ambulance there for the last 2 months there, Heyman. While we're at it when it comes to this too, Heyman, why don't we investigate the illegal things you did, the false accusations you leveled against Union Fire Company. Completely investigate all those blatant lies you told to try to get them shut down, suspended on 2 occasions, and try to get them shut down permanently. Thank God it wound up backfiring on you. Because when the council members discovered it and finally did their jobs and stopped you, I'm sure that must have really, really hampered your little parade. And in that same vein, one of the things that you did, aside from the imaginary 18 safety issues and going after the boat, speaking of which, when it comes to the boat, too bad you didn't get that $750,000. One of the things that you did and needs to be investigated is the false arrest of Dave Jerry Jr. This needs to be investigated because you falsely arrested him for workman's comp fraud. We need to investigate how you harassed and threatened him and his dad, Dave Sr., to try to get him to plead guilty, which failed, by the way. One of the other things you did in that area as a form of harassment, which was illegal, posting his face on electronic billboards near the Philadelphia area. You pretty much had him like some mass murderer. Another thing that really needs to be looked into, since you're so concerned about Union, why not let's get us concerned about some of the things going on within 222? And there's been a lot. How about all the accidents that your drivers have had, wrecking the engines? I don't know how many times. I've lost count of how many times. I know of one going into Philly and another one in Pandell. Speaking of which, too, why are you guys responding to calls outside of Bensalem during the day? That's for volunteers to do, not you. Why is it, as I said when this was formed, it was formed under questionable circumstances, but not just this. How about some of these very people that you've got working for you? Two that I can say, I know definitely of a third now. Criminal acts is the best way I know of to put it. 2 paid firefighters who committed criminal acts in particular, assault and sexual harassment. Nothing was ever done about either incident. And what I'm referring to is one firefighter, and I know the names, but I'm not going to name them. One of them assaulted another firefighter. He should have been arrested, but he wasn't. Some little secret backdoor deal took place there, didn't it? And the sexual harassment, it was allegedly somebody a high-ranking fire official pulling a Anthony Weiner with a female firefighter. A lousy 2-day investigation was done on that one. You know, cell phones should have been confiscated. Things should have been done in depth there. But, of course, you never do that, Heyman. Now we have a third situation, which is involving the school district, where a former fire chief is under investigation, was arrested among 20-plus other people. And from what I learned, you allegedly went to the school board on behalf of this person to try to intervene on their behalf to keep him from getting arrested. From what I heard, allegedly, he came to you allegedly stating that you owed him one for him standing with you against Union Fire Company. I'd like to prove me wrong. If that didn't happen, I'd like proof. And the school board's welcome to also chime in on that. I also think it's really a good idea, extremely good idea, to investigate every supervisor of former Detective Jennifer Cannon concerning their blatant failure to supervise and or act on her improper handling of not just the Meyerly case, but of over 20 other sexual assault cases. I know there's one that was just, it's being investigated right now from 2005. I'm just wondering, where were her supervisors when she was having issues handling all these cases? I'm serious. I'm just wondering. A lot of victims are probably more than likely wondering this. Another thing, too, that I and more than likely a lot of others are wondering. Apparently this happened about a week or so ago, on a Wednesday. Allegedly, a Bensalem police officer pulls a car over on Street Road for a DUI. According to what's been alleged with this, the driver is was a councilman from Tullytown whose driver's license is suspended. Now, instead of being arrested, this councilman was given what's known as the backdoor treatment. In other words, he wasn't arrested at all. Let completely go. Now, why the heck was that happening? I mean, this person should have been arrested. Not just because of the DUI, but because of the suspended license. I mean, driving without a suspended license is pretty serious. But see, what I learned was this guy is very good friends with His Majesty. And since he's such good friends with His Majesty, he was given this backdoor treatment, never arrested or charged for this. Of course, I know, Heyman, you're going to try to deny it, which is par for the course, because this is something allegedly from His Majesty issuing this directive. You know, my thing is, if this is true, which I have this really bad gut feeling it is, why was nothing done on this? This is a dangerous issue. This is something I think that Mothers Against Drunk Driving would really sink their teeth into. Because what if this man had killed someone? You know, I'm thinking back to Macaulay with his drunk driving antics. He actually seriously hurt someone. You know, what if this individual had killed someone? I say that again. People, it's time to wake up. It is so time to wake up. You know, Scripture says that when the righteous are in control, the people rejoice. It says, righteousness exalteth the nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And we're living in a moment where everything is so corrupt. It's nationwide, not just in this town. I want to leave you with something. Psalm 53 says, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. Corrupt are they, and have done abominable iniquity. there is none that doeth good. God looked down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there were any that did understand, that did seek God. Every one of them is gone back. They are altogether become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. That's the first 3 verses. In short, we're living in a town, a county, state, and nation where every man is doing what is right in their own eyes. They're doing whatever the heck they want. I, as a Christian, can't abide by that. I am not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm pro-life, pro-faith, and pro-family. In short, I vote the Bible. You got a problem with it, with anything I have said, let's get together at Popeye's sometime and let's compare facts. I got plenty right here. Just email me and let me know what day's good for you. Sayonara for now.